Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel today. My name is VSuraj and this is where I will be reviewing books that I read and coming on here to share my thoughts with you guys. Um, yeah, that's basically it. I like to read and I always wanted to start a YouTube channel to share my reviews and talk about books in general, and I decided to finally do it. So yeah, it's like real Jon Snow up in here. I knows nothing about making proper videos and all this YouTube stuff, right? The quality might be very amateur, but we have to start somewhere, right? So here we go, and for my first ever video book review, I will be reviewing Hungry Goose from Kevin Jared Hussein. So if anybody's watching from around the world, I live in Trinidad and Tobago, and Kevin Jared Hussein, he is also from my country. Just a note, so I wouldn't say I read like a wide variety, but I read a lot of local books from TNT authors and also from the Caribbean. I also read books from like international writers as well, but I like fantasy and now and then I would read a bit of romance. So yeah, that's how my reading taste will be. So a lot of the books that I want to review on here would be a lot of Caribbean books and also a lot of fantasy books. I also like young adult books as well, mostly fantasy also, and touching on some middle grade, but yeah, that's how my reading tastes are basically. So, to talk about Hungry Goose, so this book came out in 2023 and it won some awards. So, right off the bat, I will say it's a very good book and you should read it and support authors from Trinidad and Tobago. So, let me read the blurb. Do they call it blurb? The summary of what the book is about. So, it's 1940s rural Trinidad. On a hill overlooking Bell Village sits the Changur farm, where Dalton and Marley Changur live in luxury, unrecognizable to those who reside in the farm's shadow. Down below, by the river, is a barrack, a ramshackle building of wood and tin, divided into rooms occupied by whole families. Among these families are the Sarups, Han and Shweta and their son Krishna, whose lives are shaped by back-breaking work, poverty, and devotion to faith. When Dalton Changur goes missing and Marley's safety is compromised, farmhand Hans is offered a generous payment to move to the farm as a watchman. It's a proposition he can't refuse. But as the mystery of Dalton's disappearance unfolds, their lives become dangerously entwined and the small community is altered forever. So that in a nutshell is what is on the inside cover of the book. And yes, so as I just read for you, it is set in the 1940s in Trinidad, and as you heard, it's almost like two separate families. So the Changurs are the rich people, and the Sarups are the poor working class people. So the book it deals very much with themes of class, of that economic divide between rich and poor. It um, it follows several characters. So we have Hans, Shweta, Mali. We also have Hans's son Krishna and some of the extended family that they live with in the barracks. And it really shows that difference between rich and poor, but it's not only that, right? The novel is so much more than that. It really speaks to so much of things. It's basically a historical fiction because of the time period that it is set, and everything unfolds really well. The story progresses at a good pace, and yeah, as I said before, it's a very good book. I will say that it's very heavy in terms of it's not any light breezy story. It's very serious, very somber. Yeah, it's certainly not what you might carry to the beach to have a nice light read, you know. So yeah, it's very heavy, and I will say a bit of a spoiler, a very, very small spoiler. So if you want to hear the spoiler, stay on. But if you don't, you could skip ahead the next 10-20 seconds, because I'll say the spoiler in 3 seconds, right? So I'm going to say it in 3, 2, 1. So if you are still here, the very small spoiler is that the book ends on a sad note, right? Something tragic happens, the book ends, and yeah, so if you don't like unhappy endings, then you might want to pick up something else. It ends on a sad note. Not all the plot pieces are tied up neatly in a bow. Some things are left open, but the way how the story unfolded, for me at least, it ended at a good point. It's not like it's an abrupt sad ending, like, no, it ended where it needed to end, and it's basically up to the reader's imagination. It's left open so you can think about how the characters' lives played out. Excuse me. So basically, in a nutshell, that is my review on Hungry Ghost. I highly recommend it. If you like historical fiction, if you are okay with reading something very serious, very somber, very mature themes, it's really not for the faint of heart. It has a really good, well-rounded cast of characters. The language of the book, that is something I would like to touch on for a bit. The language is something, it's almost a mechanism on its own. It's something very unique that carries the novel forward in its own way. There's another Trinidadian writer called Andre Bagoo. So Andre Bagoo wrote a review on Hungry Ghost, and I'm sure if you Google Andre Bagoo review Hungry Ghost, you will find it, because that's how I found it. So yeah, and in his review, he really delves into the language of the novel, and he says that the language is almost like a character on its own, moving and driving things forward. And he speaks about it with a lot more detail and a lot more literary terminology than I could muster right now. But yes, when I saw what he said about the language, I certainly agreed that yes, the language in the book is something special. It's something special. Um, so, of course, with any, well, not with any, with many books set in Trinidad and Tobago or the Caribbean, um, a lot of the times the dialogues will be in dialect of the respective countries that it's set in. So it's similar with this book. Um, but the language, and when I was saying language, I meant the narration of the book. Because the language is standard English, right? But the narration, how certain words, how it works, it just works. It just works. I really can't explain it, and the best way for you to experience it is to read the book. So I guess that's about it for now. That's how my first video will end. Yeah, I don't want to have like too long videos, just to I just want to come on, give a little review, talk a bit about the book and everything, and sign off. So I think I did that. And yes, I will see you in another video. Thank you so much for watching. And share with any book lovers, people who you might think would be interested in picking up Hungry Goose by Kevin Jared Hussein.